Joseph was born on January 13, 1953, in Philadelphia to Mary Elizabeth Abel, 1931-1991, who bore him from an Italian-American named Augustus John Zarelli, 1926-2014. Currently, it is established that Joseph was registered at birth, but his parents were not married, although Augustus' name was listed on his birth certificate. Years later, when his identity was confirmed, relatives of the elder Zarelli said that he may not have been aware of Abel's pregnancy. Mary Abel was 21 years old at the time of his birth. A year before this, she similarly gave birth to a girl out of wedlock, whom she put up for adoption. Joseph has younger half-siblings, both uterine and fraternal. It is known that Joseph was never reported missing. Around 2 p.m. local time on February 26, 1957, a Tuesday, 26-year-old Frederick Benenis, a La Salle College student, approached the Homicide Division of the Philadelphia Police Department. He reported that the day before, around 3:15 p.m., in a desolate area called Fox Chase, north of Philadelphia near Susquehanna Road, approximately 450 meters from the Shepherd School for Girls, he found a large cardboard box containing the naked body of a child. To verify the claim, several patrols were dispatched to the specified location. The first to find the box, discarded near the road, was Patrolman Elmer Palmer. The boy's body, wrapped in a blanket, lay in a large cardboard box from a J.C. baby crib. During questioning, Benenis explained that on February 24th, while driving on Susquehanna Road, he nearly hit a rabbit that fled into the woods. Knowing there were traps in the area, Fairmount Park was nearby, and the Philadelphia surroundings were abundant with rabbits, foxes, beavers, etc., Benenis stepped away from the road to ensure the rabbit didn't get caught. Failing to find the rabbit, he left but decided to return later to check other people's traps. He returned on Monday, February 25th, found no traps but discovered the box. Benenis assured the police that he did not touch anything, though he did not explain why he did not report it to the police that day. Later, police re-questioned Benenis because his statements about the rabbit seemed odd. He then admitted to having a voyeuristic tendency and spying on couples in the area. He decided to contact the police when he heard on the radio that 3-year-old Mary Jane Barker went missing in New Jersey on February 25th, assuming she might be in the box. He passed a lie detector test, completely removing suspicion of his involvement in the murder. The initial examination of the crime scene revealed that the child's death occurred elsewhere, indicated by the lack of clothing and the absence of dirt on the feet and body, and the body was brought to this location by car. Currently, the area adjacent to Susquehanna Road on the side where the body was found is densely populated with residential houses. However, in 1956, Shepherd School for Girls was the only nearby dwelling. On the way from the road to the box, police found a velvet cap and one brown child's shoe. The other from the same pair was found 40 meters further down the road. The police believe the cap belonged to the perpetrator, who evidently brought the body late at night but dropped the cap and couldn't find it in the dark. The pair of children's shoes, as later revealed, did not belong to the deceased, as they were one size largely below the norm, indicating malnutrition. However, the body was dry and clean, with short trimmed nails on the fingers and toes. The palm of the right hand and the soles of both feet, however, exhibited significant changes in the skin, suggesting that these body parts had been in water for a long time. Moreover, the immersion in water occurred just before the child's death, as the skin had not had time to return to its natural state. This ultimately led to the inability to lift fingerprints from the child's right hand. The child's hair was short and roughly cut, with a length not exceeding 1.2 centimeters. The cut hair that had fallen off remained on the child's shoulders and body, indicating that the child was shaved after death. The examination showed that the cause of death was severe head compression. Significant bruising was found with no skin injury. In addition, an L-shaped scar with sides measuring 6 to 7 millimeters was noted on the chin, along with traces of 3 surgical operations, on the left ankle, groin, and chest, performed skillfully and long before death. The scars had healed normally and were unrelated to the child's death. The deceased's stomach was empty, and a small amount of a black substance of unknown nature was found in the child's esophagus. Toxicological analysis showed that the child was not poisoned, not under the influence of alcohol, and not under the influence of a sedative at the time of death. The boy had numerous bruises that appeared shortly before death. Otherwise, the body had no bone fractures or signs of sexual and physical abuse, except for the bruises and hematomas on the head, indicating that the child had not been subjected to consistent and systematic beating during his lifetime. No vaccination marks were found on the body, leading Spellman to conclude that the child was not enrolled in any school. The child had a full set of baby teeth. During his lifetime, the boy suffered from a certain chronic eye disease, which presumably led to the appearance of ulcers around his eyes, but Spellman could not accurately determine the exact nature of the disease. However, he noted that the left eye was clearly exposed to a special dye used for the diagnosis and treatment of eye diseases. Rigor mortis had completely passed, indicating that more than 48 hours had passed since death. Postmortem changes were weakly expressed, indicating a prolonged exposure of the body to cold. If the child's murder occurred indoors, he was quickly taken outside. The daytime air temperature in the second half of February 1957 in the vicinity of Philadelphia fluctuated around -3 degrees Celsius. Spellman could not accurately determine the date of death, establishing only that the boy could have been killed 2 days before discovery or 2 weeks ago. The box in which the boy was found measured 38.1 centimeters by 48.3 centimeters by 88.9 centimeters. Thanks to the preserved label, it was quickly determined that it was sold from John Penny's warehouse at the intersection of 69th Street and Chestnut Street in the Upper Derby area, approximately 25 kilometers from the location where the body was found. The box was used to store and transport a woven baby crib from the series that went on sale in December 1956. From December 3, 1956, to February 16, 1957, 12 such cribs were shipped from the Upper Derby warehouse. The blanket in which the body was wrapped was made of cotton flannel with green squares on a white background, measuring 162.6 centimeters by 193 centimeters. A piece measuring 78.8 centimeters by 66 centimeters was missing, and it could not be found. Approximately 1/3 of the remaining piece was stained with motor oil. The cap was made of dark blue velvet and had a leather strap with a buckle. A manufacturer's label from Hannah Robinson of South Philadelphia was found on the lining. The case garnered significant media attention in Philadelphia and the Philadelphia, Camden, Wilmington region. Over 400,000 flyers with the story and image of the victim were distributed in mailboxes along with tax receipts. On the same day the body was discovered, detectives located Hannah Robbins, whose workshop produced the cap. Robbins recalled that the cap was among the products they had manufactured before May 1956, and that a young man aged 26 to 30, dressed in a blue work coverall similar to those worn by gas station attendants, had purchased this cap in November 1956. It turned out that his cap originally did not have a leather strap, which was added at the request of this man, and Robbins remembered it for this reason. 8 out of the 12 buyers of the cribs were found, and all of them were found to be unrelated to the body. The owner of the warehouse from which the cribs were shipped, John Penny, was so upset that he could not help the police in their searches that, from February 1957, he ceased cash transactions and sold his goods only by mail or check. The company that produced the blanket was also found, but it owned 2 large factories, one abroad in Quebec, Canada, and the other in Swannanoa, North Carolina, which, in the case of blankets, worked with the same patterns and materials, making it impossible to identify the owner of the blanket. Based on John Porosnik's testimony and weather records, the police determined that the box was delivered to the site between the morning of February 23 and noon on February 24. About a week after the discovery of the body, the district attorney's office and the police department began to lean toward the idea of conducting a large-scale search operation with the widest possible involvement of the public. Since the body had not yet been identified, its identification became the top priority of the investigation. For this purpose, it was decided to release a poster containing a detailed description of all the evidence and circumstances related to the case, along with an appeal to residents to inform the police if they recognized the items or the child. Local residents were also asked to pay attention to familiar children who had disappeared from their site starting from mid-February. Throughout the spring of 1957, the investigative group worked through more than 300 reports from residents of Philadelphia and the surrounding areas about suspicious child disappearances. In the overwhelming majority of these cases, vigilant residents reported that children they had often seen before suddenly stopped appearing in their field of vision. The subsequent police investigation usually recorded the fact of children moving to a new place of residence. During the second half of 1957 and the first half of 1958, 763 families belonging to the white race and moving to Philadelphia in the winter of 1956-57 were checked. Despite the meticulous and thorough investigation of all the circumstances of these people's lives, the police could not find anything suspicious. At the same time, the investigation explored the possible involvement of criminals who had already been exposed in the death of the child. Kenneth and Irene Dudley were checked for involvement in this case. Due to their wandering lifestyle, they were carnival workers. 7 children of the Dudley family died from 1937 to 1960. They had a total of 10 children. Since the family did not have a permanent place of residence, the parents secretly buried the children wherever they could. No charges were brought against Dudley because the examination revealed that all 7 children died due to a lack of sufficient food and proper care from the parents. The examination found numerous traces of beatings on their bodies, but the cause of death was malnutrition and colds. Funeral. Gradually, the flow of people wishing to view the body diminished, leading to the gradual elimination of the need to keep the body in the morgue. On July 27, 1957, the body was buried in the Cemetery of Unclaimed Bodies in grave number 191 near the Philadelphia State Hospital in the Byberry area. This was the only burial where a modest monument was installed through the city budget. The inscription on the plaque read, "Heavenly Father, bless this unknown boy." On November 3, 1998, the grave was opened for exhumation. A DNA sample was extracted from the enamel on a preserved tooth. After that, the body was reburied in Ivy Hill Cemetery in Cedar Brook, Philadelphia. The casket, gravestone, and requiem were donated by the son of the man who buried the boy in 1957. The new grave now has a large headstone with the inscription "Unknown Child of America." In 2019, the grave was exhumed again for new attempts to extract DNA samples. Boy in the box. Identified on December 8, 2022, 65 years, 9 months and 13 days after discovery.